This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
I'm Roby Brock. Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. Well, it was a big day in the Arkansas House. The Governor Sarah Sanders' LEARNS plan had a dramatic vote. It is now headed back to the state Senate. We'll talk about that in a little bit later on in the show. And we'll visit with Misty Orpin. She's been following a number of election-related bills, such as things that have to do with ballot access. Misty, of course, is with Common Ground Arkansas. All of that and more is coming up on today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. Talk Business and Politics Daily is brought to you by Wright Lindsay Jennings Law Firm, Impact Management Group, and these sponsors.
We proudly deliver reliable, affordable, responsible power across Arkansas. But demand for electricity is strained by the elimination of sources we need for always-on reliability. And adding intermittents like wind and solar cannot replace workhorses like coal and natural gas that we all count on. Power must be balanced for your needs and our mission. Reliable, affordable, responsible. We're the Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas.
Connection. It's the heart of what we do. It's why we work to better the communities where we live and work. It's why we're expanding to get people connected and create digital equity programs that support affordable internet and digital literacy. We're leaders for positive change. From the way we empower our people, clients, and communities to the way we care for our planet. We live our values every day. We're Cox Communications, and we're pleased to connect with you.
Together we can create an Arkansas that places children and families at the very top of the agenda.
We can create the type of Arkansas that we have always imagined.
Arkansas Advocates as an organization is the glue that can put all those families' voices together.
Welcome back. Joining me now, Misty Orpin. She's the Executive Director of Common Ground Arkansas, a good government organization causing a little good trouble up at the state capitol. Misty, welcome back. Good to have you with us.
Hey, well, thanks for having me back. It's always fun to talk with you.
You testified in Senate state agencies today, Thursday, about House Bill 1419, mirrors a Senate bill that has not gotten as far along in the process. That basically increases the number of signatures needed on petitions for citizens to put ballot initiatives, such as constitutional amendments out there. Changes that from 15 counties needed to 50 counties needed. No, I'm not stuttering there. So 15 to 50.
Right.
Tell me why you oppose this bill, and you made a couple of points that I'd like you to reinforce too from your testimony today.
Yeah, well, I mean, number one, we feel like that this is a constitutional change. It's the Arkansas Constitution that sets out that floor of 15, that you need 15 counties to have signatures from. And then this raises it to 50. You can't change the Constitution without going to the people for a vote. And that's why they put this to the people for a vote in 2020. And the people rejected it with, I believe, 56% against. But, so we have that constitutional issue, but we also feel like the arguments that are being made for the reason that they think we need to raise this county threshold, we don't feel like those hold water. One of them, is that there's too much out-of-state money in our ballot question committee process in Arkansas. But if you look at the money coming in to the state from out-of-state groups, most of that money is actually going to legislatively referred constitutional amendments and not constitutional amendments put there by the people. Actually, in the last cycle, only 0.1% of the money that went to fund constitutional requests put there by the people was from out-of-state groups.
Well, just to interrupt you for a second there, I would say too that if you got to go to 50 counties instead of 15, you're going to encourage some deeper pockets to come into Arkansas and try to change some things in the Constitution that the amount of money they have to spend in Arkansas is considerably less than, say, a California or a Texas or some place else. I've seen that over the years where this argument to curtail out-of-state money, some of the thresholds they put in there actually require more money, which is going to encourage more out-of-state people that Arkansas is a cheaper place for them to do ballot access.
Right. It's already really hard to for a true grassroots effort to succeed in Arkansas to get enough signatures to get on the ballot. And that's in part because of all the barriers that the legislature has put on there to kind of negate direct democracy in the state. And yeah, you're right. This is going to make it harder for people.
I interrupted you. You had a second point you were going to make about this bill.
Well, I think one of the most interesting points when I did the research on the last basically 23 years of ballot initiatives in the state, most of the constitutional amendments that are put there by the legislature and not by the people. I think it's 17% put there by the people, or 17% of the ballot issues were constitutional amendments put there by the people, and like 50 something percent are constitutional amendments put there by the legislature. So it's more than 3-1, the legislature putting constitutional amendments on the ballot compared to the people. So, my point is, if they don't want constitutional changes, then they should stop trying to change the Constitution.
And maybe we could get a constitutional amendment proposal to keep the legislature from referring constitutional amendments. That may be where that goes. So, all right, another bill that you got your eyes on, Senate Bill 250. This deals with paper ballots for counties that choose to use paper ballots. I'm going to say I'm not super familiar with this. What's the debate on this one? Where does common ground come on this?
Yeah, so this is a bill by Senator Hammer, and actually it's been pretty controversial. So counties that choose to use paper ballots, which they can already do, just have to follow a new process, a more secure process for those paper ballots, including they have to have a specific type of ballot that has a barcode on it, and they also have to do a machine count using a tabulator before they do the hand count. And it also puts some time frames on the time in which they have to have that hand count completed of paper ballots. So it actually makes the process a lot better. And so I think you did see some maybe farther right groups initially have some heartburn about it, but I think people are a little less concerned now, maybe.
House Bill 1510, I believe that's Representative David Ray, which would set special elections on local issues at just your regular election dates. So I guess that would be primary, general election, no special dates being issued. Why is that? Well, I guess I'm asking you, do you think that's a good bill? Do you think that's a bad bill? I mean, regular elections encourage more participation. That's when you get higher voter turnout versus those special election dates.
Yeah, from a common ground perspective, it's a great bill. I mean, we believe that you can trust the voters, and that the more people you have turning out in these elections, the more you're actually going to get the will of the people in that area. And just do want to clarify that in presidential election years would be the March and November, so the primary and general. And then in non-presidential years, it would just be in November. So it would just be in the general if they have one in an off year.
Okay. Senate Bill 258, the last bill that we're going to look at today, drop boxes. It bans all absentee ballot drop boxes. Do we even have absentee ballot drop boxes in Arkansas? I'm not familiar with them. I've seen them in other states, but I'm not familiar with them in Arkansas.
Yeah, no, not really. In the House committee meeting, there was an example of maybe 2 manned drop boxes where there were employees from the county clerk that were collecting ballots maybe a couple of years ago during COVID or something like that. In Pulaski County, they're not doing that anymore. But it sailed through the Senate, but then it got kicked back in that House committee meeting. Jeff Wardlaw wanted some definitions on it. What was a manned drop box and an unmanned drop box, and when could potentially a county clerk actually take a ballot from someone and then put it in a box. They're trying to make it to where that's not outlawed by this bill. So yeah, that one had some pushback. And the others, though, like Ray's bill, the election date bill, that passed the House committee. I'm surprised. I expect the Municipal League to be more against that, but they didn't speak against that in that committee.
All right, we are going to wrap it up, but just one more curious question for you here. We will start talking about the constitutional amendment referral process, I would say, now that we're getting into the latter stages of the session here. You think any of the proposed, I can't remember, I want to say there's almost 35 or more proposed constitutional amendments. Does anything kind of stand out to you as a potential favorite that you think there's a lot of legislative support for?
Oh my gosh, that I think that they're supporting. No, there are some that I think are really interesting. Like I think Senator Payton has one that would be a recall. Arkansas doesn't have a recall. Actually, I'll tell you, back in the 19 teens, Arkansans passed a recall amendment to the Constitution that was struck down. So we have had recall briefly before, but this would bring back the recall in Arkansas.
I think the one to do let lottery scholarship money be used for vocational and technical schools seems to have a lot of bipartisan legislative support, a lot of sponsors on that one. And it's just kind of a quirky, it was left out of the original lottery amendment. I wouldn't be surprised if that one gets referred. So that one's my dark horse pick to make it. So,
well, I'll keep an eye on it.
You do that.
Let you know.
All right. Misty Orpin, Executive Director of Common Ground Arkansas. Always good to catch up. Thank you so much for making time with us.
Thanks for having me.
We're back to wrap up after this. Talk Business and Politics Daily is brought to you by Wright Lindsay Jennings Law Firm, Capital Advisors Group, and these sponsors.
One of the things that I really liked about UAMS College of Health Professions is that they set me up for success. I chose UAMS because I felt like it was a great place to work. My grandmother was diagnosed at UAMS for multiple myeloma, and I felt like it would be a great way to pay back the place that helped my grandmother so much. And that's why I went in the healthcare field in the first place, is to help someone just like they've helped my grandmother.
For your education and healthcare needs, choose UAMS.
This is what we work for. The moments you live for. The joy. The heart. The wonder. At Entergy, we're dedicated to powering each moment. Today and for future generations. So we're leading the way with a cleaner, more reliable power grid to power every day. Because these moments matter. We power life. Entergy.
So it was a big day in the Arkansas House. The governor got her Learns Education Reform Plan, that omnibus bill that we've been following for several weeks now. She got that through the Arkansas House with 78 folks supporting it. There was some bipartisan opposition. 3 Republicans voted against it. All the Democrats did. And now it heads back to the state Senate, where it will have to concur an amendment that was put on in the House, mainly to do some technical corrections and also just to add a few more laundry list of things that were requested from the Senate when it sent it down to the House. But it is expected to sail through the Senate Education Committee again, and it is expected to also pass through the full state Senate. Look for a potential bill signing on Senate Bill 294, the governor's Learns Plan, by the middle of next week. I predict it'll be something along those lines. That is all for today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. You can keep up with daily political news on our website at talkbusiness.net. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you next time.